great spring so far. It's been fun to watch you guys work together. I think every year it's a new team, and watching this group, and that's the biggest thing is how we play. Watching how they've come together, how they have fun playing with each other, play with energy, play with passion. I think that's carrying over to our physicality at every position, and that's what I think has been the most fun to see and the most exciting to see, really on both sides of the ball. I think the defense playing excellent, a lot of good stuff, a lot of back and forth, a lot of different situations, and guys have responded to it well. So we've got a lot of learning. Our staff's been excellent. Obviously got a couple new additions who've brought much to the table, and then a lot of familiarity. So it's been a good off season. Moving into spring, but I think the kids have really taken after, taking to heed what we've been talking about and putting into action on the grass. So that's been awesome.
Hey Joe, Will Stein with you. If you were to do a self-assessment, look back on your own year one as a play caller here, sort of, where do you think you needed to improve, and how are you trying to go about doing that going into your second year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we have to make sure as an offense that we can attack people in multiple ways. And different defenses and what we see will call for some different things. But we got to make sure that we create a balanced offense that we can attack people in a lot of different ways. And at times last year, maybe there are some things that we could get better at. And I think we've attacked those things in the offseason, And that's the big thing. And that's where I see with Garrett, but with the entire offense, how we're focusing on just building, multiple ways to attack defenses. And here's the thing, it takes all 11, It takes every single guy. From our receivers, and the way they come in and block, the way they crack safeties, to our tight ends, to our alignment, to our quarterback's understanding, and all that. And I think we've attacked that really well in January, February, leading into spring ball, and I think that's been the exciting thing. So that's what I want to continue to see grow.
Hey Coach, can you just talk about your relationship with Garrett? I mean, this is the 4th year you're working with him, right? And he's happy with some things he did. There's some things he wants to clean up. Just how's that going, and making that jump from year 1 to year 2 as a starter?
No doubt. Garrett's fabulous. I've enjoyed coaching him every year in all his different situations, and how he's grown, how he's matured, and just the man he's becoming, who he's becoming, not only as a football player but as a person. When you look at Garrett was prepared to play, but then there are certain things that he needed to go through that you can only get preparation by playing. You can only get the experience by playing. And I think he's learning that. This off season has been able to be a little bit different because now he's going back, and when he's studying, he's not just studying his practice tape or maybe our tape and what could happen. He's looking at specifically some stuff that he needs to improve on. And I think he's been really intentional. I think really some of our staff did a great job of breaking some different things down for him so he could really see some individual things, and he could take back control of those situations, whether it be something technical with a throw, whether it be the understanding of a defense, whether it be how we're playing, whether it be our footwork, all different kinds of things, and being able to really be intentional, take control of that, and make those corrections. And a lot of that, the big thing now is taking that to practice, and really a lot of it he's been doing a great job with. And then there's still some things, We're still a work in progress. That's the great part about spring practice, because you really can't wait to get to spring practice, because now it's like, okay, all right, I feel this, I'm making this correction, okay, I still need to maybe think differently about that situation. And now let's make that correction the next day. I think he's done an excellent job of attacking that. I couldn't be more proud of him. I've really seen his leadership. I think his confidence and who he is as a person, just his leadership carry over. This year he was always a leader, but I think he's done an excellent job of that, just really being organic, being real, being genuine, and I think the guys are gravitating to it. It's been good to see. It's been a lot of fun to see for him. But excited about the room. I think Mike's done a great job. He's had his learning the offense, That's been a big piece for him. When he gets comfortable, he got comfortable there midway through, played really, really well. Then we get into some new situations, Now we get back in those same situations. Now he's playing well again, I think he's doing really well. He's battling through, and he's working on the things he needs to work on. So I couldn't be more excited about what Mike and the growth he's made. And then Juwan and some of the different things that he brings and what he's done in some different unique situations and packages. I think he can help a football team. So excited with the group.
Hey Joe, I was going to actually ask a follow-up on the other two quarterbacks. Could you give us an assessment of Michael Van Buren from your perspective, what you all liked about him? as a player? And then also the decision to move Juwan to quarterback, is that something that was depth, or is that a permanent move for him?
Well, let's start with Mike. Mike obviously played extremely well, did a lot of great things at Mississippi State last year. So when we had the opportunity to add him to our roster, we couldn't have been more excited. I think Mike, when you watch, when he gets comfortable, when you've really seen it, we've seen it a lot this spring, his comfortability in the pocket is exceptional. I mean, it is exceptional. And I think that's a really huge talent for him, and then he can drive the football now. He can touch every piece of the field with his arm. He can drive the football. So I've really liked his growth. Some of the things that we do, he hasn't necessarily done, but he's a quick learner. Once he does it once and as he feels it, he's been able to make the adjustments and make the growth. I think, both Tim Rattay and Trey Holtz and some of the different things they've been able to do, and that's a great part when you have great coaches. We're able to kind of split off, and really focus on what the individual guys need. And I think that's helped Mike a ton.
And Juwan?
And Juwan wanted to come back to quarterback. It couldn't be more excited to have him. He's obviously a different style of quarterback than maybe the other two guys. He's going to definitely, you're going to have to respect his feet. And just working through him, I think you've seen his growth from a passing standpoint. He throws a good ball, but in terms of his read progressions and doing the things he needs to do. And then, just his footwork and commanding the huddle. I think he has great leadership skills. And obviously he's been electric with the ball in his hand, made a couple big plays when we've been in live tackle situations. So I think he's been exciting. He's been fun to coach. He's attentive, and he's getting after it.
Hey Joe, just a little bit of a recruiting question for you. Just with the way kind of the 2025 class ended at quarterback, was there anything that you learned from that experience in terms of how you're going to recruit in the future, or maybe explain just that aspect of it a little bit? If there's anything you learned from it.
Well, I think things happen, right? Things happen in college football, and you do what's best for the program. You make the decisions that are best for the program, and you rock and roll forward. We couldn't be more excited how everything worked out, right? I think Michael's done an excellent job. We may not have been in the same situation if that was the case, right? I think Michael's done an excellent job. I couldn't be more excited to have him and what he's done. And I think, just all the different pieces that we have here, I couldn't be more excited about the future of the offense. So in terms of, recruiting, I think just in today's world of recruiting, every day's a new day. You just keep attacking that day. It's all about relationships. It's still all about relationships. You got to go with those first. Obviously, there's some external factors, but we can't worry about the things we can't control. We just got to continue to recruit to the best of our ability with our relationships, talking about LSU, talking about Coach Kelly's program, talking about the tradition of this place. And that's why you continually see excellent players committing to LSU. The staff that we have is fabulous, right? And they come here and they feel that. They're excited about the development and that they're going to get within this program. And that's what we continue to focus on. And that's been working pretty good.
Coach, this offense as a whole, going into next year is going to look a lot different than it did this past season. What are you liking from the weapons you brought in, especially with Berrien and with Nick and the upgraded running back room? So what are you liking from the weapons that you brought in, and how do you think that's going to improve the offense from last year?
Well, I would say, it's not just the guys we brought in, but the guys that are back. We have a ton of talent when it comes to, I couldn't be more excited about the receiver room, tight end room, running back room. When it comes to the weapons, and the skill type players that you're talking about. I mean, from the kind of football that Chris Hill was playing to what Aaron's doing. And I think Aaron, this time last year, right, raise your hand if you said Aaron was going to be, right, probably one of our lead receivers. Okay, good. I didn't think so, right? Okay, right. And just the way he's attacked this offseason, I couldn't be more fired up, And then to Zay and how the way he's playing. And Cal Parker, who's, even though he had not able to go full speed, he's out there attacking it every day. And then the additions, right, in terms of all the different guys that have been added, from Fad to Berrien to Nick, right, the different guys that are moving through with some of our young guys. I don't think it's about any one guy. Really, it's about the core of receivers. And I think that's the thing that makes it exciting, is it's a long football season. We're going to need every guy to play at their absolute best level. And I think they love playing with each other. They love getting after it. They're attacking it. And that's what we want to see, because we know we're going to get into the season And for the type of goals we have as a football team and as an offense, we're going to need the guys to play at an elite level. And it can't just be one or two. It's got to be as a unit. And that's what I think we're building. I think Cortez has done an excellent job with those guys. Honestly, just from a retention standpoint, a recruiting standpoint, and then a development standpoint. I think they've had an excellent spring. And then on to the tight ends, obviously, adding in Bauer and Donovan, but Trey being back and the growth that he's had, the way he's practiced this spring as a complete player, man, he's pretty electric. So, and the way Bauer's come in, I think Coach spoke the other day. I saw where he made a comment about his mentality. And I think that's been excellent for us. And Donovan's been a very experienced guy that has a level head and can kind of bring a calm, cool demeanor to the group. So I think there's a lot of different pieces that are exciting about that group. And then, Giovanni, who we got to see, he's been the ball game warrior the last 2 years, okay? But I think he continues to grow and develop. And I think it speaks to the development of our program. And then we got, another young guy who we're going to continue to get back in JD. And then from the running back standpoint, last year this time, in the spring, really only had Caleb, and Josh was kind of hobbled, right, working through the spring. And now this year to be able to have Caden, Caleb, Harlem, and a couple other guys, I think that group's been pushing each other, creating competition. I think Caleb's had some of his best practices as a Tiger. I think Caden's been great and working into his second year. And then Harlem really starting to get comfortable and show flashes. So I love what I'm seeing from the different pieces of the group, and we're going to need everybody. Right, we're going to need everybody to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and that's kind of the mindset, right? We got to push each other, we got to have competition, and we got to create depth and an environment where I'm going to step up when my number's called, and that's what I think those guys are doing.
What do Marion Brown, Nick Anderson, and Destin Hill, what do they bring skill set wise to your offense? And where are they in the playbook?
I think they've done an excellent job. I think all the new guys, really up front, tight end, receiver, I think they've done an excellent job picking up the playbook. I mean, obviously, we got a lot of new faces, right? And they haven't necessarily been in this offense. And there, at times, we get a little bit. We can have a lot of offense, right? And I think those guys have done an excellent job studying. I think we got great teachers, right, too. I think our coaching staff does an excellent job in the way they teach. But I think those guys have done a great job. And then, I think this, obviously you can see in the different just skill sets that they bring. But I've been really excited about, Berrien he's been, obviously brought speed, but I think he's been an all-around receiver in what he's done. And I think you continue to see his growth and development. Nick, obviously, is a massive human. Right, and just his playmaking ability, and then Fat's been really good. Destin has been great coming off his knee injury to play the way he's playing, and just his workman-like attitude and what he's been able to do, make plays. I think all three of those new guys. But again, just like we talked about before, all the guys we got coming back, and I think all the pieces are fitting together really well in that room. With, like I said, and I'm not going to go back through them, but Chris and Aaron and Zay and Kyle and all the different guys that we have coming back and the way they're playing. I'm excited about the receiver room, and I think Garrett is too, and you're seeing them gel together, right, as we work through the spring.
You kind of talked about it, but is Trey just scratching the surface on what he could be, and Bauer, his addition to the team as well? Those are two different kind of bills and guys, right? How do you mix and match them in the tight end room?
Yeah, I think the cool thing is Bauer and Trey have really hit it off, as well as Donovan. And I think Alex is doing a great job of putting those guys in that room and creating an environment, right, where they work together and push each other. Alex and Nate Dotson's been here now for 2 years. He does an excellent job as well. And just how those guys are pushing each other and competing with each other. They both have excellent skill sets on the perimeter. But at the same point in time, I think they bring a little bit different things, when it comes athletically. And so does Donovan. They all kind of bring different things. I've heard people describe a tight end room as if you want like a basketball team, right? Everybody can't be the same because we're going to have a lot of different assignments and roles that we ask those guys to play. And I think when you look back, what Coach Kelly's done with tight ends and now what we've done with tight ends since we've been here, right? Now, mostly one guy, right, Mason Taylor. But I think you see the emergence of Tradez as we got through the second half of the season, and then you watch his growth this offseason. And I think he's going to speak to the development of this program. And you know, his attitude is infectious, man. I mean, his attitude, the way he attacks things, is infectious. And he can be as good as he wants to be, and he continues to push every day to do that. I couldn't be more proud of him and excited about him being here. But obviously then, you know, speaks to the rest of the group too.
You have time for a couple more?
We've spoken to a couple of players this spring, and they've talked about how physical the offensive line has been the first couple of weeks. Can you just speak to maybe what you've seen from that group in terms of physicality and kind of the growth of some of the young players you're going to be relying on there?
Well, the fun thing about the offensive line group is that there's a lot of competition, and every day you've got to go out there and bring it, because if not, there's somebody else who's breathing down your neck. And we've been rolling a lot of different guys, giving a lot of guys opportunities, and kind of see who continues to rise, right, as the group goes on, you know, as the spring goes on. But we've made an emphasis. We've made an emphasis, not just at O-line, but at every position, about the physicality we're going to play with. And I think that starts up front, right? And when they're doing it up front, then it carries over to receivers. And like I talked about earlier, the way we've been blocking on the perimeter, I think that's changing, right? And that's a massive piece to what we need to do for our offense. And it opens up so many different things. But I definitely think it's going to start up front, right? And the emphasis on coming off the ball, right, and moving people. And I think the kids are taking heed to it, you know, and getting after it. I think the competition is bringing out the best in all of them.
The run game and the red zone scoring, particularly coming off of last year, just sort of what's the mission to make those two areas into maybe more strengths for this team?
So, the run game in general, or the run game in the red zone?
Run game in general, or if they're linked together.
Well, they are linked, right? So I think you hit on a key point, right? You know, we have to score our touchdown percentage in the red zone is something that's going to be critical, right? It's critical every year. And I think there's multiple things that come with that, right? Obviously, being able to, when you get down low, being able to block the extra hat and do different things to account for him. One, sometimes that's quarterback run game, right? Sometimes that's blocking with receivers. And we'll attack it in a lot of different ways. And I think that's been a huge focal point right this offseason, and things that we're going to do. The other piece is, right, when we have opportunities to make plays and one-on-one opportunities, we got to make sure we get the right guys in those spots, and then give them the tools to make the play, and then we're going to go make the play, right? And we're working on all those different pieces, because that goes into the touchdown percentage of the red zone. That's critical. It's critical. It's something that we'll focus on from now all the way through the season, and we know we got to be great there, right? Because we're going to be in a lot of games that come down to the fourth quarter, and it's going to be about, right? Did you settle for 3, or did you get 4? A couple of those times, right? When you had those trips, and I think that'll be key. That'll be key for us. And you know, I think the whole thing is simplicity, showing the same pictures to the offense, right? And then letting them execute in those situations. That's where you bring out their physicality. That's where you bring out their violence. If we can continue to do that, right, we can build that way, and be confusing for the defense, but simple for us, man, our guys can go play fast. And we're trying to create that for them. But we got to be multiple in the run game, right? I mean, that's a different, you know, Garrett needs to run more. He knows that, right? That's something that we've talked about. But Garrett's not going to go run for 1,000 yards next year, okay? I don't think you guys need to worry about that, right? So, right, we need to be multiple in our run attack, right, and be able to attack people different ways. And that's really been the focal point. But yet, keeping it, as we get more multiple, keeping it simple for our guys so they can go attack. And I think you saw that growth, right, as not to get into last year, because this is about this year, but you saw the growth as the year went on, and then that's been the focal point, right, moving into this offseason, and then pairing it all together, and making sure it all pairs up together, and we can work our different actions and things like that off of that. That's been a huge piece this spring, and I think the kids are really attacked it, you know, and I think we've been able to do some good things and make sure that Nuss sees those pictures and understands, right, how he needs to help us in those situations, which has been really, really good.
All right, Joe.